Okay, let's talk about a breakthrough that sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie. I mean, this is the kind of thing that could change, well, everything we think we know about research, about creativity, and even about discovery itself. So yeah, let's dive in. So our story kicks off on a very specific day, January 12th, 2026. Mark that date down. Right now, it probably doesn't mean much to you, but trust me, it's a day that's going to go down in the history books as a massive turning point for science. Because on that day, a mathematical mystery, one that had the smartest people on the planet stumped for 30 years, was finally solved. Just think about that for a second. 3 decades of brilliant minds hitting a wall, and then, poof, a solution. But that's not even the craziest part of the story. The real kicker, the part that changes everything, is that the mathematician who cracked it wasn't human. Not even close. So the big question is, how on earth did this happen? Let's get into the specifics of how a machine managed to solve a problem that many thought was literally unsolvable. All right, so the problem itself is called Erdős problem number 397. Now, don't worry about the name. All you really need to know is that it's a super famous conjecture that, in simple terms, asks if a really complex pattern in numbers just keeps going forever or if it eventually stops. For 30 years, this thing was a total beast, a real white whale for mathematicians. And here's how it was solved. The model was OpenAI's GPT 5.2 Pro, but what's mind-blowing is how it did it. It wasn't just guessing. It autonomously built the entire logical proof from the ground up. Then, and this is the genius part, it used a tool called Aristotle to double-check its own work and then translated the whole thing into a formal language called Lean. Now, you can think of Lean as the ultimate mathematical fact-checker. If something is proven in Lean, it is 100% undeniably error-free. So we're not just talking about an answer, we're talking about a perfect, verifiable proof. Now, a breakthrough like this doesn't just pop up out of nowhere, right? It's the result of a massive leap in what AI can do. So let's take a step back and look at how we got here. How we went from an AI that was basically a fancy chatbot to one that can actually think. For the longest time, we've kind of thought of AI as a brilliant parrot. You know, it was amazing at mimicking human language, just predicting the next word based on zillions of examples it had seen. But what we're talking about now is totally different. This new AI is more like a tireless researcher. It doesn't just repeat patterns, it comes up with its own ideas, its own hypotheses, and then it tests them all by itself. And this timeline really puts it all into perspective. Just a few years ago, before 2024, models like GPT-3 and 4 were, at their core, just incredibly sophisticated pattern matchers. But then, in 2024, we had this thing called alpha geometry, which was a huge deal because it showed that AI could actually handle real logical proofs. And that set the stage for 2026, where we now have what people are calling an agentic researcher, an AI that can run its own research project from start to finish. So what is actually going on inside the mind of this AI? What's the secret sauce that makes it so different? Well, it all comes down to a completely new way of thinking. It's a concept called System 2 thinking. And get this, it's not about being faster. It's actually the opposite. This AI will spend hours, maybe even days, just thinking, deeply reasoning about a problem. It's developing ideas, testing them, throwing them out, starting over. Basically, it's doing exactly what a human researcher does when they're trying to crack a tough problem. It's slow, it's deliberate, and it's incredibly powerful. And you can see that whole process laid out right here. Step 1, it hypothesizes. It comes up with potential ideas and pathways to a solution. Step 2, it reasons. This is where that slow System 2 thinking kicks in to build out the full proof. Step 3, and this is so important, it translates its proof into that formal language, Lean. And finally, step 4, it verifies everything with the Aristotle tool to make sure it's 100% correct. No guesswork. Okay, but with all this incredible new power comes some really, really big questions. I mean, just because an AI gives us the right answer, do we actually understand it? And what happens if we don't? Fields medalist Terence Tao, we're talking one of the greatest mathematical minds alive today, he confirmed the proof was correct, but he also gave a pretty serious warning. He talked about the danger of black box knowledge. That's where we start just accepting answers from AI without really understanding the logic behind them. It's like we get the what, the correct answer, but we could be losing the why. And this just opens up a whole can of worms, ethically speaking. I mean, should we really trust a proof if no single human can fully wrap their head around it? Who gets the credit when an AI makes a discovery? The company? The coders? The AI itself? How do you even copyright something like that? And it makes you wonder, does this change what it even means to be creative? So, no matter how we answer those questions, one thing is absolutely certain. The game has changed. The very nature of science and discovery is being redefined right before our eyes. So let's just boil it down one more time. The big shift is this. We've gone from pattern matching, just seeing correlations in a bunch of data, to genuine symbolic reasoning. That's the ability to actually understand and work with abstract ideas and logic, which is, the bedrock of all math and science. This table just lays it all out perfectly. Look at the shift. The working method went from pattern matching to symbolic reasoning and verification. The accuracy went from being kind of prone to making stuff up or hallucinating to being 100% verified. And the role? The AI is no longer just an assistant or a co-pilot. It's now an independent researcher in its own right. And let's just hang on that number for a second. 100%. That's a game changer. Being able to formally verify a proof means we are leaving the era of AI's unpredictable mistakes behind. This is about certainty. This is about mathematical truth. Which brings us to our final big lingering question. For centuries, we've always thought that intuition, that creative spark needed for a breakthrough, was something uniquely human. But if that intuition can now be coded, if it can be replicated, verified, and maybe even done better by a machine, what does that mean for us? What does human creativity even look like in that new world?